Now on Toledo News This Morning, we're putting the spotlight on your mental health with a positive outlook. I'm sitting down with friend, radio host, and mental health advocate, Eric Chase. Good Saturday morning, I'm Jaden Jefferson, and welcome to Toledo News This Morning. My conversation with local radio personality and mental health advocate, Eric Chase, is coming up. But first, a check of traffic. Lasky Road at Talmadge Road will undergo lane restrictions for intersection modifications and signal replacement beginning Tuesday, March 1st, with work expected to wrap in October. You're paying more at the pump, but you don't need me to tell you that. If you've had to get gas lately, you're probably wondering why it's so expensive. Well, there is a reason, and it has a lot to do with the price of oil. The reason is partly due to the fact oil prices are up. So when companies pay more for oil, you'll pay more for gas at the pump. According to CNN, the price per barrel of oil is soaring, so don't expect relief anytime soon. Experts are anticipating gas prices to top $4, and they say the Russian takeover of Ukraine could expedite that rise, as the war could disrupt the supply of oil in that region. In California, where prices are among the highest in the country, you could be paying up to $6 for gas. So how can you save? Take less trips, make sure you don't have heavy objects in your car, which requires it to use more fuel, and only fuel up if need be. Reporting in Toledo, I'm Jaden Jefferson. So I've been on his show, and now he's joining me on my show. Joining me now is local radio host and mental health advocate, Eric Chase. Thanks for joining me.
Of course.
Now, it's been trying times for everybody. Everyone's been busy. Everybody's been going through a lot because of the pandemic and all the stress that's built up, myself included. So what are some tips or advice you have for people?
Take care of yourself. I know that sounds overly simple, but I was literally just talking to a longtime friend, and she was lamenting the fact that whatever happened to all the help that is readily available. I'm like, it's a pandemic. And one of the silver linings, and people might get tired of me saying this, but one of the silver linings of the pandemic is that more people are taking their mental health seriously. If I had to put a number on it, just pull it out of the air, I would say 30% of people address their mental health in serious ways. Since the pandemic, I would say that number is over 50%. I'm just kind of estimating, but in general, more people are paying attention to what goes on in between here, and they realize how important it is so that they can just do their day-to-day tasks, because we can't do anything without our brains. Like, I didn't pick my dog up just on a whim. I didn't instinctively do it. My brain said, pick Andre up. Let him be in the interview too. And animals. We saw a lot of adoptions when the pandemic first settled in. I mean, these guys, ditties down there, they've kept me alive. They give me purpose. They give me reason. I know you have dogs. There's never been a time where you've walked in the house and the dog was like, Jaden, give yourself your own kisses. Like, they love us. And sometimes that's all it takes to spin us just a little bit so we can get back in a good direction.
And you have a story, mental health story, that has definitely, of course, advanced your advocacy and your, of course, out here in the community. So kind of give people a background.
It was in my early 20s, like 2003, 2004. My life was really good. My radio career was fine. I had friends, dating, everything was as I could have asked for. But more days than not, I was not happy. I like to say the emotional and psychological calculus didn't add up. I have all these great things in my life. Why am I not happier? And some days just in valleys or funks. Drake said, in my feelings. I was never hesitant to get help because I wanted to feel better. So I went to a counselor and did the intake, and what she said was, this is bipolar type 2. I had heard of bipolar. Type 2 is the lesser form of it, where I don't have these gambling or sprees of spending or promiscuity. I have hypomania, which is actually productive. I brainstorm and get creative. My mind gets activated by people who are like me. But I do get hit with the other side of the bipolar, the depression, pretty hard. And I had undiagnosed anxiety for a long time, and that almost drove me to my death. I've never made a suicide attempt, but I've had enough suicidal ideations for too many people to even grasp.
we're starting to emerge from this pandemic. We're getting out and doing things. So what have been some things that you have enjoyed doing that you're starting to, from the pandemic, that you're starting to carry out into the world?
You asked the wrong person, because I was actually cut out for the pandemic, working alone. Like, everything I do is alone. I am an introvert. I kind of like to say that, look, the pandemic had a lot of bad things, and actually the loss of life that we've seen will ultimately get to a million lost Americans is a small fraction of the people that have actually been affected, and maybe affected for a long, long time. Again, I was really just cut out for this because I'm very much an introvert. So I can't answer that question. I've just continued to do me, and I've tried to support my friends and try to maybe sprinkle some of my introvert dust on them so they could get by these very challenging, once in a lifetime, we hope, times.
I'm definitely the same way. I try to stay inside the house, and as crazy as that sounds, because I'm constantly out, but I do try to enjoy staying inside, maybe watching a movie, watching a show. So have you gotten any shows or movies out of this pandemic that you've enjoyed or you're starting to do?
We're the same then. Like, my depression, one of the things that it does is it doesn't allow me to enjoy the things that I should like. It robs me of joy. Because people would, as you just said, well, just stay busy and you'll stay out of the doldrums. But my brain, that depression says, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to, I bought a Nintendo Switch. I barely played it. I didn't want to go to the gym some days. I didn't want to take the dogs for a longer walk. And this weekend, I actually am looking forward to a lot of things. There's a couple of things on Netflix. You might like this. There's a Yale professor, David Blight. He is arguably the preeminent person on Civil War things, but more so Frederick Douglass. And there is an HBO Max special, I think narrated by the incredible Jeffrey Wright, about Dr. Blight's book on Frederick Douglass. And I can actually say, because I've got some demons aside, demons are put aside for now. I'm very much looking forward to seeing the Frederick Douglass thing. But I could sit here and give you shows all day, but we don't have that much time.
This pandemic, though, I mean, we all kind of become workaholics because now we're stuck at home and we're doing more work than we probably were doing before the pandemic. I could say that's true for me as well. So have you noticed that?
Work has certainly changed. And some people, again, this hasn't really affected me because I was fortunately able to go to the studio all the time. Nothing really changed for me, but I have had sympathy, compassion, empathy, and grace for the average person. Many of whom were like, wow, I finally get to stay home and, my time is my own. Well, that was a Pandora's box. So instead of being maybe miserable, maybe even a little bored at your 9-to-5 job, now you go from chores and taking the dog out to work and just personal things intertwined. And it's really hard to manage that. And it's not a grass is greener on the other side thing, but it's just something else, another curveball, another fastball at the head the pandemic threw people, having to try to merge their personal and work lives, but then pull them apart so they weren't so connected. There has nothing about the pandemic has been easy, and everyone that isn't me has my sympathy for what we've gone through.
If there's anything that comes out of this, let's begin to talk more about our mental health and understand that it's okay to feel what we're feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The question I always ask people who might be a little reluctant is, do you want to feel better? And no one will ever say, nah, you know what? I had a good day. I'm at an 8. I don't want to go to a 9 or a 10. I'm good with an 8. No, we all want to feel better. And we can do that now. And it's a challenge. It's a process, just like if you were to, a sports injury, if you tore your Achilles or your knee, there's rehab. But you can get rehab up here. And I'm not talking about like substance abuse and alcohol issues. But like I like to call it, I read in the book long ago, you can do microsurgery on your neurons just by talking to yourself more than listening to yourself.
Local radio personality and mental health advocate Eric Chase, thank you so much for joining me on what has now become Jaden and Eric in the middle of a blizzard.
I like this, and I like that you're outside and I'm inside, because this is where I like to be, because I hate winter.
My thanks to Eric Chase for joining me for this wonderful conversation, and that's all for the news this morning. Have a great Saturday.